So today we are going to delve into the world of SQL Server, one of the most popular relational database management systems. Okay, so we have an exciting agenda lined up for you all. Okay, including an overview of Microsoft SQL Server and installation of SQL Server and SSMS, and let's take a deep dive into data types and discuss on operators and built-in functions that are available in SQL Server in today's session. To kick things off, let's talk about the SQL Server, right? The overview of SQL Server. Okay, the SQL Server is a Microsoft product. It provides the robust, scalable platform for managing relational database relational databases. Okay, this saw the RDBMS SQL Server RDBMS is widely used by many customers. US-based customers, right? If you see many of them, to my knowledge, right, where I worked with many projects, I could see that most of in the case of BA space, most of the customers, they are using SQL Server as well as Oracle also, okay? But the SQL Server and Oracle, these databases are used to store and retrieve and manipulate the data while ensuring the data integrity and security. The SQL Server is available in various editions like Express Edition, and developer version and standard and enterprise editions are available to cater to different needs from small scale applications to enterprise level systems, right? These are the different editions are available. Okay, the SQL Server, it uses this one, the Express edition. This is the one I recommended you all to download and install it. Okay, and rest of them, so these are the last two are licensed one, and it is not required for us to learn SQL Server. To learn SQL Server, this is more than sufficient experience, but developer also is not required. And I believe all of you watched my SQL Server installation video, SQL Server as well as the SSMS installation video. In the interest of time, what I will suggest is you can watch my installation videos and go ahead and install SQL Server and SSMS. And I believe most of you already installed, but those of you are yet to install it, please go ahead and install it by watching my video. And a couple of you, I think you might not have access to the SQL Server, right? These videos, I will assign it to that, to your user ID. Okay, fine. So before we dive in, let us understand what is database management system. So we know very well the SQL Server is a relational database management system. First of all, what is database management system? Why we need to use database management system? And then we will understand what is relational database management system. Database management system is a it's a software, right? It using this database, this software program, or using this software, we can access the data that you stored it in a database, or you can manipulate the data. In the sense, you can insert the data, you can modify the data, delete the data from a table once you stored it in a database. But again, based on the roles assigned to you, you can perform these kind of DML operations. We will discuss about what is DML a little later. There are two types of DBMS. The one is the relational database management system. The other one is the non-relational database management system. The SQL Server falls under non-relational database management system. Sorry, relational database management system. And in the case of non-relational, the document data store, and column-oriented database are gaining a lot of popularity. For example, HBase is a column-oriented database, and Apache Cassandra, that is also column-oriented database. Okay, and document data store also gained a lot of popularity. MongoDB, right? And key value store, when it comes to Hadoop, the key value store kind of database are popular. And Graph database is also very popular. Okay, but we will look at what is DBMS. And if you have to work on a Hadoop system, obviously you need to aware of the ecosystem as well. Like you should know what is HBase and what is Hive. Hive is a data warehouse in the case of Hadoop ecosystem. But HBase is meant for this one. It's a column-oriented database. Okay. So in that case, see what in the case of column-oriented database, what they do is they store each and every column separately, so that the performance will be pretty faster. It need not to your query need not to go through each and every column and skip whether the column that is required by you is there or not, right? So until it finds the columns that are required by you, it has to skip the column. If the volume of the data are huge, and skipping the columns also takes longer time. We are in the world of big data. Petabytes and above volume of data are available, okay? And also, like I said, each and every batch, I used to reiterate the importance of learning the SQL queries, the importance of learning SQL queries. 1 second, please. Let me just. Okay, now we will discuss about the DBMS. Let's not discuss much about the non-relational database. You will get confused. But anyhow, knowing the types of the DBMs are very much important. Database management system like relational and non-relational. But when it comes to analytics, most of the projects, yeah, those customer use SQL Server, obviously, they'll be using relational database management system. But in the case of Hadoop, the volume of the data is very huge. They'll be using different software. So for example, Hive. Hive is meant for data warehouse, okay? Fine. Now, so what is DBMS? DBMS stands for Database Management System. So in the case of DBMS, the users can access the data from a database. So all your data are stored in a centralized place called a database. And the database, they store the data. Later point if they want to retrieve the data, they can retrieve the data. And if they want to remove records, if you want to modify the data, they can do it. For example, you have the price master or the price dimension table. So in that case, the prices are more dynamic in the current landscape, right? The business landscape. The prices will vary time to time. In that case, you need to modify the prices for the same product, within the different durations, right? So hence, the data will undergo changes. In the sense, you modify the data. Some cases you delete the records. Sometimes, right? So majority of the time you'll be inserting the data. Okay. So the DBMS is nothing but storing the data, retrieving the data, manipulating the data. Manipulating the data is nothing but deleting the record, modifying the record, and so on. The next question is, okay, DBMS is meant for storing the data and then retrieving the data. Fine. That I can do it in my laptop also. Then why do we need to have the database management system? But it is highly secure. Let's say, if you store it in a laptop, let's say you forget to put the Control Alt Del, right? So your laptop will not get locked, and someone will have access to if your laptop goes to your wrong hand, you might tend to delete the data. But on top of your data or in your laptop operating system, on top of your Microsoft operating system, when you install another software, like SQL Server or DBMS software like SQL Server or Oracle, it sits on top of your operating system. To access the database, again, they need to have the username, password, everything. And again, they need to have the privileges in order to insert the data, modify the data. Even to read the data, they need to have special permissions. Okay. So it is an additional security. Hence, RDBMS. Another thing is the querying the data from multiple tables are pretty simple. With a simple English-like language, you can query the data. It's a very interesting language, okay? Unlike other programming. For example, in those days, people used to write the assembly level program. It is very, very tough to understand. Very, very tough to write those kind of program. But nowadays with RDBMS, you can write English-like language and you can interact with the data and you can do data analysis like anything, okay? Now the question is, we understood what is DBMS. This is meant for storing the data, retrieving data, and it gives additional security. Everything is fine. What is RDBMS? For example, I have two tables, employee and department table. Let's say you want to retrieve the department name along with the employee name, salary, and employee name. Okay, you want to have 3 columns to be displayed in your report: the employee name, salary, and department name. The employee name, date of joining, and salary, and department name. These 4 columns needs to be displayed in a report. Okay, so here you have e-name, and date of joining, and is salary, comma D name. But the D name, department name column is available outside of the employee table. It is available in department table. Is there any way that I can query the columns from more than one table directly? That is not possible. If you have to retrieve the columns from more than one table, you have to create a relationship between the table based on the common column, the depart number and depart number. Based on the common column, you will have to query these, so you will have to query the columns from both the tables, okay? But using the common column, you need to create the relationship between the tables. You remember in the case of Power BI, we discussed about how to create the relationship, right? Simply drag and drop it here. But here you need to explicitly use some commands to create the relationship. At this moment, you just think, right? Just drag and drop it here, okay? So only then you can use the department table to filter your employee table, right? So in that case, you can get each and every employee name along with their department name and the other details simultaneously. You can get it, right? So in that case, you need to join these two tables using a common column, right? Here you need to create a relationship, right? So to join the tables, two tables, to retrieve the data from more than one table, you need to join the tables based on the common column, right? To create, so based on the common column, you need to join these tables. For that, you need to create a relationship. Hence, it is called relational database management system. Very simple. The common columns between these are depart number. So in this case, the query, for example, the select all the columns. For example, e name, the date of joining, and salary, comma, the D name, department name. From the employee table, I just say E as an alias for him. Like people have nickname, isn't it? Likewise, you can give a nickname for the table also. Very short thing, E here, and comma, the those of you joined just now, don't worry. Okay, I just started the beginning of the thing. Okay, don't worry. So employee and department, you have department table and D. Okay, so these are the columns, and in the from class, right, you have employee and department D. And where class, I'm going to say, what is the common column between these two? Depart number, right? So E dot depart number is equal to D dot depart number, correct? So this is how you write a query to select all the four columns from two different tables with this joining condition. But before you use this joining condition, in the table level also we use some clauses. Okay, we have something called foreign key. The depart number, foreign key references the depart number column from your department table. That's how we need to define it while you create the table. That we will say it later. At this moment, you just think to retrieve the data from more than one table at a time. You need to create the relationship between the table based on the common column. So this relationship is nothing but your relationship. This is what we call the relational database management system. Not only we store the data, at the same time we create the relationship between the tables explicitly. Now, next one is the SQL and TSQL. To communicate with your, let's say you store the data in a database, SQL Server database. How do you communicate with the SQL Server using a language called structured query language, SQL. SQL stands for structured query language, using which you will communicate with your SQL Server. For example, in the SQL Server, I have a table, right? So in this, I have created a database. In the database, I have created a table called products. In the products table, I stored all the products, okay? The product ID, product name, unit price, stock on hand, effective start date, effective end date, and status, something like that, okay? Multiple columns are there. I stored all the products there. Later point in time, if you want to retrieve the products, specific products, you can use the SQL query, select star from products to retrieve the data from your database table. Okay. The SQL is very common in all the RDBMS software. When it comes to the Microsoft SQL Server, there is something else called TSQL. T stands for Transact SQL. It is an extension of your SQL language. It is primarily used in Microsoft SQL Server databases. Okay, and so in the case of TSQL, a batch, we will submit the transactions in a batch. Okay, what is a batch? Batch is a group of one or more SQL statements submitted as a single unit to the SQL Server database. And see, in this case, I have used only one query, isn't it? Only one query. So let's say some other user, he wants to fire another query against this table. So let's say you have another table called customer dimension or something like that. Select star from customer dimension. And another guy wants to join the product table with the fact table. And then you want to check whether any matching records are there between the product table and fact table. Okay, if there is no matching values, which means there are some products we did not sell it, right? Let's say you use a left join with the sales fact table with your product table to check do you have any products which you are not at all selling. Okay, and then what you are doing is if that product is not available in the fact table in the last 6 months or so, what you do is you decide to flag that specific product as inactive. Henceforth, I'm not going to deal with this product because this product we are not at all selling it. There is no point in, because it's not a profitable product. It's not a fast moving product. Better we will, we will dispose this. Henceforth, we'll discontinue selling this product. So you use a SQL query, and then followed by that, you use some kind of update statement. So what you want to do is, instead of sending the queries one after the other, you send everything in a single batch. Okay, you send everything in a single batch. Your select statement, and the next one is your update statement. And for example, in the next one, you want to say delete, right? All these things you group it as a batch, and then you send it to your SQL Server. In that case, what will happen is, all these statements will be submitted as a single unit to your SQL Server rather than sending one after the other. It sends everything as a batch to this one. It's something like, let's say you have a marriage party, right? You have arranged the, big van for your relatives, right? If you put everyone in a van, and then if you bring them to your marriage hall, it is less expensive rather than bringing each and every person by using your car to your marriage hall. It's very expensive, isn't it? The same idea here, right? With Transact SQL, TSQL, you can submit the set of statements as a batch to your SQL Server, so that all these statements will be sent to your SQL Server in one go, and then it will get executed together. Okay. So the batch can include any valid Transact SQL, like a select statement, insert statement, update statement, and so on. Okay. And you can create multiple batches. Okay, each batch can be separated by Go. Go. Okay. Don't worry, I will show you everything in the demo. Don't worry. So at this moment, you just understand what is SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is not our job just to store the data in a table in a SQL Server. Okay, and once you store the data, we need to use it, right? So we will be using it more frequently, the tables data, using SQL queries, or we'll be using the DML statements, data manipulative language, like inserting the data, and then as and when the customer raises the order, the data will get inserted into order transaction table. Likewise, right, the data, in some cases, the data will get inserted into a table. In some cases, you want to retrieve the data which you have stored in a table. For example, if you go to the Amazon app, whatever the products that you ordered in the past, right, when you tap on the orders icon, it shows so far whatever the products that you ordered with Amazon, right? It has to bring the data from your database, and then it has to show you, so that you wanted to reorder the same item. It will make your life simple. You just tap that order, and you will have a button called repeat, right? So what I'm saying is, the statements, right? The batch of statements. Sorry, the TSQL is kind of a batch. You can submit the set of statements as a batch to your SQL server so that everything will get executed in one go. Okay. So what is the question? 1 second. Why batch is required? Okay. The batches are, like I said, right? It is useful for various reasons. Okay. This allows us to this allows multiple SQL queries to be executed together. See, from the performance point of view, this is really good, right? Like I gave you the analogy. If you bring all your friends and relatives using a single luxury van, right, in one go, your expense is very less. But if you bring each and every person by hiring a separate van, it will take it consume too much of money, right? You'll have to spend too much of money, and again, coordination, a lot of confusions will be there. So batch, there are some cases, yes, you need to submit it as a batches. Anyhow, we'll show you with some example. Don't worry. Okay. At this moment, you just understand what is SQL. Using SQL, we can communicate to the data that you stored it in your table. You can communicate or you can fetch the data that got stored already in your table, right? You can, using SQL client, you can do that. And the TSQL is an advanced version of SQL, the transact SQL. See, the syntax, yeah, what you're asking is correct. Anwar's question is the SQL queries are same syntax, right? So, yeah, the SQL queries, the way we use it across the RDMs are more or less same, but there are some subtle difference when it comes to syntaxes. But once you learn, like you said, a specific RDMs, learning other RDMs is pretty simple. But here, when it comes to SQL Server, there are they introduced a couple of different features. This is not common across all VMS. But when it comes to analytic functions, it's common. There is something called CTE. That feature is not available in other RDBMS. But yeah, like you said, more or less it is same only, but there is a subtle difference. So Microsoft SQL Server Manager, how do we go ahead and download and install it? I'm going to skip this now in the interest of time, and you can watch my video and install it. In case of any issues, you don't hesitate. You can disturb me anytime between 12:30 to 3:30 weekdays. Okay. So next we will jump into the data types that are available in the SQL Server. Okay, like in Power BI, other RDBMS system and other programming system, right? So, but when we compare the Power BI, the data types almost similar here. Okay, you have the numeric, string, date and time, binary, and miscellaneous. Other data types are there. And when it comes to numeric data type, within this itself, there are two different types are there. Yeah, this we know that integer and decimal. And the integer itself, they have came up with different types of data types: big int, small int, and tiny int and bit. And decimal itself, they came up with different and variants of the data types: decimal, money, small money, and numeric. Okay, and yeah, these are it depends on your requirement. You can choose the appropriate data type for each column in your table to conserve storage optimally. Okay, to consume the storage optimally. For example, if you are going to store age, let's say you have a column called age. The age, it cannot be more than 100, right? No one will live more than 100. Even if they live, maybe 3 digits we can give up to 200, 9999, 999 years maximum, right? But beyond that, no one will live. 1,000 years, do you think they live people? No. So in that case, you can use tiny int so that it will use less storage in the memory. Okay, it will occupy less storage in your disk also. Okay, tiny int. On a case-to-case basis, you need to decide which data type to be used within the integer itself to save the storage space, and even from the performance point of view, right? You need to choose wisely the appropriate data type. Okay. Next one is the decimal. I'm not going to talk in depth about all these data types, okay, in detail. Look here, we will just look at the conventional data type, the integer data type. So you can store anywhere between this range, the integer data type. And bit, we have something called bit data type 0, 1. Okay, so you can store anywhere between 0 and 1. And for example, you have the gender column, you can use 0 or 1. Okay, and decimal data type, you can store anywhere between this range. Okay, and the date time, you can store anywhere between this range. And string data type is called as a char. Okay, char or char. There are two different types, character data type and varchar data type. Maximum length is 8,000 character, fixed length Unicode character, and varchar is your maximum length of 8,000 characters. Okay, but what is the difference between char and varchar? Anybody has any idea? What is the difference between char and varchar? College time you would have studied, right? Computer science students. See, the character is the varchar, as the name suggests, the variable one. The char stands for character. It is used to store fixed length string, fixed length. Okay. This means for each character related column, right? It will always take up the same amount of storage. For example, I have a name column. I have the customer name. I have used the char of let's say the customer name can be anywhere between, right? So it can the range of the customer name maximum. I say 25. Customer name, first name. Let's say first name 25. What happens is if you give the first name, the data type width as 25, it is going to store the first name with this fixed length strings, irrespective of the length of the customer name. For example, a specific customer name is Babu, just 4 letters are there, right? But it will consume 25 fixed string here. The rest of them leave it is blank. So it's a fixed length string, which one the character data, right? Whereas the varchar is a variable character, as the name suggests, right? It stores the variable length of strings. For example, in the case of Babu, though you have defined the data type as varchar 25, unlike char, in this case, if the name Babu comes, though the width is 25, it will store only it will consume only 4 string here. Okay, for the length, it is going to consider only 4. Rest of them, it will not use it. Okay, it will not use it, only 4. Okay, so somebody name is bigger. Okay, Ashok Narayan Singh. Okay, but according to your size, it will consume whatever the number of letters that are there, only that much will be consumed. Whereas here, irrespective of the length of the customer name, for each, even the, let's even the customer name is smaller, still it allocates 25 strings here, okay, in the memory. Okay, that is what the difference between char and varchar. This varchar is also called as a variable character. The CHR also called as a character data type. Okay, but the varchar is storage efficiency. You need to remember only that one. Okay, and the next one is so these are the data types. If you are aware, that is more than sufficient. And we have different built-in functions that are available in SQL Server. Okay, so like in Power BI, we have used different built-in functions, right? The same thing. The round function is there. Here also it is there. Ceiling, floor, count, all the things are available here. Okay, and these are the built-in functions. Okay, what is ABS? What is ABS? The absolute. Okay, if you have a negative value, you want to convert it as a positive value, use absolute. Okay, and what is the other thing? Yes, ceiling and floor. So what is ceiling and floor? What is ceiling and floor? What is the difference? See these two functions, the ceiling round function is to round to a specific decimal number. For example, I have, okay, I'll just show you in SQL Server. Look here, this is what your SSMS, SQL Server Management System. I believe all of you have installed the SSMS, right? Yeah, all of you have installed or not. If you have not yet installed, please watch my video and install it. Okay, now if you see here, I just click on the database engine and I just connect it here. Very good, right? So Pooja answered. Convert the decimal number to high value. That is your ceiling, and floor is opposite, right? The decimal to the lowest value. Okay, so databases. I just click on it. At this moment, don't worry. Okay, I will just let me do one thing. I will use the pre-written queries so that I can use it. We can save time. Anyhow, don't worry. I will share the queries. All the things I wrote it. Okay, I just prepared it on my own. Because the initial topics are pretty simple. That is the reason why I'm reusing the same queries here. Okay. Okay. What we'll do is to start with this here. So this is what your SQL Server Management System. I will help you out the navigation. At this moment, you just watch. Okay. See now, I just clicked on the connect and database engine. So how do I launch the SSMS? I just go to the I press the window key, and here I just press I type SSMS. SSMS is kind of your client for your SQL Server. You need to first install the SQL Server, and then only you need to install the SQL Server Management Studio. To you launch this tool, you just type SSMS. You will find Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. You just click on it, okay, and it will get open. Okay, for example, here I'm going to use this one. Already I created the SQL file. Let us go and check. This is a different thing. Okay. Okay. So now you need to, when you press, when you click on the SSMS, it will get launched. While launching it, right, once it gets launched, you will find something like this. Simply close your eyes, click on connect, don't make any changes. It will take for a while and then it will get connected here. Okay. You will find localhost SQL Express 03, all the things. Okay, fine. And next one is the databases. Next to the database, you will find the plus icon, click on it. You will find, so these are the databases I created. How to create the database? I click on the database folder. I right click on it, new database. That's all guys. It's very simple. So the SSMS tool is the one which I'm showing it now. This is called your SSMS, the short form of SQL Server Management Studio. The short form of SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, in short, we call it the SSMS. The SSMS is developer friendly. You don't have to memorize the syntax for the SQL queries or DML queries, DDL, the commands. Okay, it's pretty simple. As we move further, you will get to know about the features of SSMS. At this moment, I will just show you how to create a database. Select the database, right click on it, click on new database. That's all, guys. It will ask you the name of the database. I just say dummy database, or I'll say retail demo database. The first step is click on the new database and then type the database name and then directly hit this OK button. Don't do anything else. Click on OK. It'll take for a while. That's it. Look here, the retail demo database got created in a matter of jiffy, right? Next to that, you click on the plus icon. You can see a lot of folders. Ignore about everything. Don't worry. So in database, everything is called objects. You have something called table. Table is an object. View is an object. Synonym. Everything is an object. Okay. Most of the things are an object. And storage is an object. And security is also, security cannot be considered as an object. Okay. Tables. Yeah, most of the things are considered as object. Okay. Now my database is ready. This database has no, look here, when you click on the plus icon next to the tables, currently there are no tables are available. Okay, let it be there. So now we will play around with the queries or the built-in functions. We will explore how these built-in functions are working here. For example, if I use the select ABS of minus 23.42, as I'm going to give some nickname, alias, okay, as the absolute value. Semicolon, that's it. We'll select this one and then click on execute. Or if you are a keyboard guy, press F5. Look here, 23.42. Negative 23.42 got converted as 23.42. Okay, you got it. So what is the purpose of absolute function? And the next one is the ceiling floor. Around is there. Yeah, what we'll do is we will use the same thing. Select a round of, let's say I have something like 123.4.34. Sorry, 124.34345, comma 2. And if I select this one, okay, your question is if I don't give absolute, what will happen? Don't worry, it's kind of column name, okay? Look here, it rounded off the decimal number to two, decimal value. The rest of them, it made it as 0, okay? 3, 5. Because here 3, 4, 5, 4, right? So it rounded off to 3, 5, okay? So round function. So if you see here, no column name. For that purpose only, we are using the alias as is a keyword, as, okay? And to give some column name for this kind of function, right? We use as and here rounded value. See, now we can see a column name here, rounded value. If you display something like no column, it is really confusing, right? Okay, and the next one is the ceiling and floor. What is ceiling? It will round the numeric values to a specific direction. Okay, in the case of ceiling, it rounds up to the nearest integer or specified decimal value. Whereas in the case of floor, it rounds down to the nearest integer. Okay, I just show you an example. For example, select ceiling. You don't have to type the entire function name. Look here, I just typed 3 letters and it shows the functions or other things that are available with the prefix with this one, I ceiling. Just double click on it. That's all. You don't have to type the entire. This is called code completion facility. Code completion facility. This is also one of the features of SSMS. Ceiling, it rounds a numeric value to the nearest whole number. In this case, for example, I just say 5.4 as rounded or some value. Okay, we'll give some meaningful name, rounded value. And if I give here 6, so what happened here in this case? Here, how do I specify comment? It is always a best practice wherever it is required in your programming language or in the case of DBMS SQL, right? Use the comments. If you want to use a single line comment, use double hash, single line comment. Okay, the ceiling function, what it did. So the ceiling function rounds a numeric value up to the nearest whole number. Nearest whole number. Or specified decimal value, decimal place. See here, I have used this text in the more than one line. Okay, if you have to use text, the comment, this is called your comment. This is for the end user to understand. If you are specifying more than one line of a comment, then use / and star, and then you do this one. So what will happen is when you select these lines starting from line number 5 to 10, when you click on execute, the SQL Server engine, when it encounters this notation, the /* until this one, it will simply ignore it. So this is not my job. I'm not going to execute this one, but this is my job. I'm going to execute this one. That's how the SQL engine will work. So it will simply ignore whatever the thing that you mentioned in your command. Yeah, sure, Lavanya. Okay. And then you can, the next one is here there is no comment. Hence, this one will get executed. Okay. So the ceiling rounds the numeric value to the nearest whole number. Okay. That is what we can see here. And another example is, for example, here if I give yeah, you want try 8.0, right? Okay. So in that case, what value will get it? We'll give you 8 only. The nearest whole number is 8 only, right? So that is the nearest one. And the next one is, so for example, you have 6.8. Seven. Okay. And next one, the floor function. It rounds the numeric value down to the nearest whole number. Okay, I just copy this one to save time. The floor function rounds a numeric value, not up, down. So that one, the ceiling is up. So it rounds the numeric value up to the nearest value, but whereas it numeric value down to the nearest whole number or specified decimal value, decimal place. Okay. In this case, I just use the same thing. It will give me, sorry, here I use ceiling and here I should use floor. In our home, we have, in your room, you have floor and ceiling, right? Something else. So the rounded down to the nearest whole number. Rounded down to the nearest whole number is 5, right? 5.4. Next to that nearest whole number is 5. That is what it gives us. And yes, I'll just show you that one. Same thing, right? Okay. In this case, if I use floor, what value am I going to get? 8. So in this case, both the ceiling as well as the floor is same, right? Just give me a second. I think I have